I'm going to talk about the male reproductive system. It starts with the penis. The function of the penis is to act as a conduit for urine to leave the body. The other organ is the testes. They are glands where sperm and testosterone are produced. The next is the scrotum. The function of the scrotum is to control the climate of the testes. Then next is the vas deferens. The vas deferens transport mature sperm to the urethra, the tube that carries urine or sperm to outside the body. Then the epididymis, that its function is to transport and store sperm cells that are produced in the testes. The urethra, it has the additional function of ejaculating semen when the man reaches the orgasm. Then the next organ is prostate gland. It contributes to an additional fluid to the ejaculation. The prostate fluids also help to nourish the sperm. The other organ is the seminal vesicle. The seminal vesicles produce a sugar-rich fluid, its name is fructose, that provides sperm with a source of energy to help them move. Then it continues with the hormone regulation. It starts with the hypothalamus, that goes to the hormone of the GnRH, but it has a secretion. Then that secretion goes to the anterior pituitary gland. The anterior pituitary gland divides in two. That is the FSH hormone secretion, and then it continues with the LH secretion. The FSH secretion goes to Sertoli cells that divide in two, that are called the inhibit secretion and the spermatogenesis. If the inhibit secretion is negative or receives a negative feedback, it returns to the pituitary gland. Then on the other side, the LH secretion goes to Leydig cells that produce the testosterone secretion. If the testosterone secretion has a negative feedback, it goes to the pituitary gland, or it can go to the hypothalamus. Then the testosterone secretion, if it's positive, it goes to various target tissues that help to the maintenance of accessory reproductive organs and the maintenance of secondary sex characteristics. It has also the sex drive, the protein synthesis in skeletal muscle, and the bone growth in adolescence. Those are like the positive changes of the LH and the testosterone hormone.
Egg transfer refers to the movement of the oocyte from the moment of expulsion of the ovarian follicle to enter into the distal segment of the fallopian tube before fertilization takes place. Once fertilized in the ambulatory segment of the fallopian tube, the embryo spends about 5 days traveling into remaining anatomical oviductal district and arrives to the uterine cavity at the blastocyst stage. The external genital organs include the mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, Bartholin glands, and clitoris. The area containing these organs is called the vulva. The general genital organs have three main functions: enabling sperm to enter the body, protecting the internal genital organs from infectious organisms, and providing sexual pleasure. The mons pubis is a rounded mound of hairy tissue that covers the pubic bone. The labia majora, literally large lips, are relatively large, freshly of tissue that enclose and protect the other external genital organs. The labia minora, literally small lips, can be small or up to 2 inches wide. An ovarian cycle lasts about 28 days, beginning at the first day of menstruation or menses. During the first 7 days of the cycle, 6 to 12 primary oocytes begin to mature, and as the follicles develop, the follicle cells communicate with oocytes and passes them nutrients through pores called gap junctions. Each oocyte grows larger and the surrounding follicle cells divide, proliferating to produce 1,000 of follicle cells in a single follicle. By day 7, all but one of the developing follicles begins to degenerate. The remaining of follicles continues to develop, and its follicle cells continue to pump it with nourishment and also supply it with proteins and information molecules needed to earlier stages of development. The maturing primary oocyte completes meiosis I and divides into 2 haploid end cells. Each of these cells receives half of the chromosomes. However, one cell, called polar body, receives very little cytoplasm. The other now is a secondary oocyte, enters meiosis II and arrests there until fertilization. At day 14, ovulation occurs, and the secondary oocyte erupts from the ovary. The oviduct contains microscopic cilia that beat and draw interlaced oocytes. This immature egg enters an oviduct and it may become fertilized by a sperm cell and complete meiosis. The follicle cells that are left behind develop into a small mass of endocrine tissue called the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum remains in the ovary for 2 weeks, secreting the hormones estrogen and progesterone. At the end of the ovarian cycle, if the woman is not pregnant, the corpus luteum disintegrates. Each month, the ovarian cycle is tightly coordinated with the uterine cycle. In the uterine cycle, the lining of uterus builds up and then slows off. The cycle begins in the slowing of the uterine lining. This is the first day of menses, also called menstruation. After menstruation, the uterine lining starts to grow again to prepare for implantation of an embryo. During this phase of the uterine cycle, up until ovulation, the uterine lining proliferates. Capillary plates supply this tissue with nutrients. Just before menstruation occurs again, the capillary plates degenerate and no longer deliver the surrounding tissue with nutrients. During this menstruation, this tissue dies and slows off through the vagina of the outside of the body. These are the birth control methods that are effective in preventing and spread sexually transmitted diseases. The first one is abstinence. How this works is not engaging in any sexual contact. This is the most reliable and this is the most protective one. Vasectomy is where the male vas deferens are severed and then tied to sealed in a manner so as to prevent the sperm from entering into seminal stream and thereby prevent fertilization. The tubal ligation is the oviducts are tied off and then cut. The oral contraception contains various mixes of of things that are put into the woman. Contraceptive implants prevent sperm passes. IUD causes changes in the endometrium. The diaphragm prevents the implantation of fertilized eggs. Male condom prevents sperm reaching the vagina. Female condom prevents sperm passes through. Coitus interruptus ejaculates of the vagina. Natural family planning is control of your fertility days. The morning after pill, it gives the negative feedback inhibition. And all of these methods, the only ones who prevents pregnancy are the abstinence, the vasectomy, tubal ligation, oral contraception, contraceptive implants, IUD, diaphragm, and that's all. For STD, the only one who prevents it is abstinence.